This car sat for years in a garage, the engine won't start and we have no idea if it will ever run again. But this isn't just another abandoned car. See, this Vectra holds the memories of a father who passed away during the pandemic and his daughter asked me to help bring it back to life. The problem? This car was swallowed by a flood. There's water inside the engine, mold on the seats, and the smell is unbearable. By the end of this video, we'll find out whether this car can still hit the road or if the memories of a late father will remain buried forever. Before touching the engine or the interior, we need to face the first battle, the dirt on the paint. This car sat for 3 years in a closed garage, but before that it spent 2 years parked on the street. And during those 2 years, no one really knows what happened to it. If the paint is damaged, we're already starting at a loss. Guys, the foam is bringing out the car's original color, but look at this roof, it's completely burnt and dull, and if polishing doesn't save it, we'll have to face a heavy expense. This right here is the heart of the car, a 2.4 flex power 16-valve engine famous for its brute strength and unmistakable roar. However, this is the part that worries me the most. Right when the tow truck dropped it off, some nasty water came out of the exhaust. I have no idea what that means, so I already called our mechanic and he's on his way to tell us whether this engine is doomed or if it still has a chance while we start cleaning it up. But after all this transformation, will the engine run and will all the effort be worth it? Now is when things get complicated. Little Nildo has already arrived to run the diagnosis and I didn't tell him anything about the black water that came out of the exhaust. He asked me to lift the car on the hoist to check the front and as soon as we raised it, more black water came out of the exhaust. To me, that's proof the car went through a flood. But some things contradict that. I'm really hoping this car isn't flood damaged because if it is, the interior will be ruined. I'm worried about the engine. Little Nildo inspected everything and said it could be a blown head gasket and that might explain the water coming out of the exhaust. And if that's the case, the whole project goes straight to the trash. Let's take this chance to clean the undercarriage, and that's actually good news. Looking at the parts, it doesn't seem like this car went through a flood. If it had, we'd definitely find rotten components here. The 2 years this car spent out on the street are still a mystery, and to make things worse, it was in another city, so information is almost non-existent. Based on the condition of the undercarriage, I wouldn't say this car went through a flood. However, we'll only know for sure once we start working on the interior. Little Nildo is back with more time, and now he'll be able to give us a more complete diagnosis. He decided to check the condition of the oils. If the car went through a flood, this is the moment when we'll find the evidence. While Little Nildo works on the most important part, we can't forget the main goal of this project. And since this is the last memory of our follower's father, we won't spare any effort to make every detail impeccable. However, the interior will finally reveal whether this car went through a flood or not. What will we find waiting for us inside this car? Now we've reached one of the nastiest parts of the interior. The smell is unbearable and there's mold everywhere. The bad news is I don't know if we'll be able to get rid of all this mold. The good news is this car definitely didn't go through a flood, but we can't celebrate just yet. First, we need to restore the entire interior. Little Nildo changed the oil, checked all the critical points, and told me he's certain this car didn't go through a flood. After doing all that, he decided to test the car. Will we be able to get it running on the first try? Unfortunately, the car doesn't start at all. I was disappointed, but Little Nildo doesn't seem discouraged. Will we manage to get this car running again? almost at the end of the restoration. However, we need to make this paint shine. We're going to polish every corner of this car. It's time to see if we were able to honor the last memory our follower has of his father. We did everything we could to restore a vehicle that many people thought had no hope. What do you think of the result? Share your opinion in the comments. Now, the exterior looks perfect, but did the engine actually work? Now it's the decisive moment. Did little Nildo figure out the problem? He did all the maintenance, cleaned every component, and replaced some engine parts. And now it's the moment of truth. And does it work? It worked! The car still runs even after years of sitting idle. Mission accomplished. We restored the last memory our follower had of his father while he was alive. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because every Saturday afternoon we have a new challenge.